Hey everyone, welcome to our Marfione Podcast, number 19. I have the most awesome Charlie Bridges. Welcome to the show, man. Appreciate
How you doing?
Yeah. You know, Charlie is has a company called Anvil Knife Works. I've been admiring his stuff for some time. He is a 14-year veteran still in the military. We appreciate your service in a big, big way. So today's episode, we're just going to get down to the brass tacks. We're not going to do anything specific, but I wanted to have you in because ever since I met you, I was kind of intrigued with your vision and your works, and just your pieces in general, and just you as an individual too. You know, it's like I tell a lot of people because they're like, well, maybe I know Tony likes this or that or the other things. You collect swords, high-end guns, but a lot of it for me is the relationship with the maker. I don't care what they have or what they're selling. If I can't bond a little bit with that maker, I walk away from the table.
I don't even like selling knives to people that don't want to talk to me. If we're going to be honest, I want to have a conversation. I want to know you, and I want to know that it's going to get used.
Absolutely, 100%. And, you know, part of the pieces that I've seen that I really dig about what you got is I love to cook. You know, so I'm always looking for, regardless of the design, I'm looking for the functionality. Yes, I like it to look good and be beautiful, but I like stuff that's super sharp in the kitchen. You know, I love super sharp knives in the kitchen. I love to cook. Same with, Kate. Kate loves to cook all the time, so she can handle really, really sharp knives as well. And I can appreciate that because when I'm working in the kitchen, moving around pretty fast, I want to be able to be whippy. And usually I won't even just use one. I use 1, 2, or 3 in different sections of the kitchen, and it makes a huge deal. But it was definitely neat to get an opportunity to, look at some of your pieces, and I hope to, explore just a little bit more. But tell the audience today, what I'm interested in is I know that you're a 14-year veteran in the military, which we do appreciate, but how did you come up with Broken Anvil Knife Works?
If we're being completely honest, when I started out, I got an anvil for my brother-in-law that was literally broken. It didn't have a horn, and somebody had welded a flat piece of sheet metal on top. It was dead. It was a useless anvil, but it's what got me started. And after a couple years of literally giving away knives, because they were garbage, people started asking me for them.
That's cool.
And eventually I needed a name. And the only thing I could come back to is I started out on a broken anvil.
That's cool. That's really, really cool. So your early adaptations, do you have any, you had to start somewhere. I know like for myself, I had the idea one day, I was just like, hey, I'm going to make knives. Was it very similar for you, or what drove you into kind of getting into it, to the point where you're actually starting to make pieces, you're making commerce with some of your knives, you're showing up at some of the shows, outside of your duties, to the military? I
didn't start out thinking, wow, I could make knives. I want to make knives. I saw a guy at a Ren Fair, and he had his little blacksmith stable set up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can do this. I started out with a hammerhead, a sledgehammer head, stuck down into a post, and I was beating on that. And everything I made looked like a prison shiv. The very first knife I ever made is actually in a shadow box with a newspaper article about my knives.
Oh, cool.
I didn't do good for a long time. I was cutting them out of saw blades and then hammering and making very ugly pieces. And the more I fell in love with it, the more I wanted to be challenged, the more I wanted to actually find something that actually cut instead of just look kind of knife-esque.
Right.
I got hungrier.
Yeah.
And the hunger grows.
Yeah.
With most things in life that you love, the hunger grows.
Absolutely. I think I met you, if I remember vaguely, it was at the Blade Show. I thought it was, I had come over and taken a look at your stuff. I love the Blade Show. I've been doing that show for like all my life. And, started out in the custom section and, never have always the opportunity to serpentine through the aisles to see everything good. But no, it was definitely good. I was really happy to meet you amongst some others. But, yeah.
I honestly, every time I think about the time we met, I kind of cringe because you walked over and you were talking to me and you showed me one of your knives. You didn't say it was one of your knives, by the way. Thanks very much. And I was like, oh, I'm not a pocket knife guy. And you're like, oh, well, we don't just make pocket knives. And I was like, damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to be burned in my skull for the rest of my life. Thanks.
I got you. No, we make some different stuff. But
y'all make gorgeous knives. Y'all make great knives. And for the only pocket knife I've carried in 10 years is your pocket knife.
Dude, I appreciate that. When
Auto knife is mean.
When I wanted to send you that, I was like, man, I'm going to send Charlie a fucking pocket knife. I was like, what should I send him? It's like, he was either a Stitch or SOCOM. I was like, you know what? I think he's a brachial guy, man. I mean, that's like that Persian blade.
She is aggressive.
Yeah.
And she wants to work. It's probably the dirtiest knife I own now, but she is aggressive.
That's cool.
I don't even hand her to people.
Yeah.
She's mine.
That's a good one. So tell me a little bit about, if you can, tell me a little bit about what you've done in the military and what you got going on right there.
I've spent 14 years as a field artilleryman. I am a JFO, so Joint Fires Observer. I work with artillery, aircraft, naval gunfire when I get the chance. Mm-hmm. And honest to God, I just show up and I call in the big guns.
Oh, nice.
It's the best job you can have.
Oh, my God.
When you can be the guy who watches a building fall over because of a word you said, it's a good feeling.
That's a good way. That's really, really interesting. So out of the 14 years, what's, if you had to say, I don't know, give us kind of a kooky story, you got to give us something, man. I know you've probably had some great adventures, but do tell.
I got two.
Yeah.
One is my most embarrassing thing during a deployment. Second time I went outside the wire, young Private Bridges, somebody trusted me with the radio, and we were getting shot at. I was like, oh, troops in contact, I'm ready. And I look over the wall, and I swear to God, there's 5 guys running at us. And they never got closer, even after I called in the artillery mission. And everybody had said that I called in a mission on a set of bushes. But young me, shaking and excited, was ready to watch those 5 guys running at me go away. Even after the rounds hit, there were still 5 guys just swaying in the wind. That is the most embarrassing thing I've ever done.
So you actually did blow up the bushes.
Yeah. Not proud of that.
So was that an artillery hit?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay.
That was 18 wasted rounds. Whoops.
Whoopsie.
It was a learning experience, and one that I got picked on for about a year after that. It was worth it, though.
Yeah.
Me and a really good buddy of mine sitting up in the tower. I'm like, hey, that motorcycle shouldn't have driven by, because at the time, you weren't supposed to have motorcycles in Afghanistan because they were using them as quick avenue transport. So they were going through wadis, which is deep riverbeds,
right,
and in between buildings to transport weapons and stuff like that.
I got you.
I was like, that's not good. No later than I said that, homeboy pops around the wall with an RPG and fires right between the two of us. I don't think I've ever peed my pants on purpose, but if I could have, that would have been it.
Yeah. Well, did you guys smoke this guy or what?
Oh.
Okay. All right. Just wondering.
Kiowa, 40 feet off the ground, chasing him on his motorcycle. It was a good fight.
That's pretty good. So, right now I know that I overheard you mention that you're probably remain in the military, active duty for...
I'm going to go 6 more years at least.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, not only does it pay the bills, it's something that I love.
Yeah.
I've done it too long not to.
Right.
I mean, at some point you decide if you're getting out or staying in, and that was about 4 years ago for me.
Yeah.
So they've got me till they don't.
That's cool. That's cool. So, outside of, making the knives, which I know you freaking totally love, and then doing your duties in the military, what does Charlie do, man? You hunt? Do you arm wrestle? What do you do? You work out? I know you work out. Tell me what you do, man.
If I'm not in the shop or if I'm not at work,
yeah,
me and my wife are on the couch. I mean, we don't get a ton of time, so the time we have is ours.
Ah, it's yours, yeah.
And if we're not out antiquing or if we're not out finding a place to disappear for the weekend, we're wrapped around each other.
That's cool, man. That's a good story. And you say antiquing, so we share a common ground on that.
Oh, that's man, why I dig half of what you've got. It's a passion, and I see it.
Yeah, some of the stuff is new for me. Like the antique guns, knives, stuff like that has always kind of been it. But now it's,
But when I was looking at your Subas, that is a thing of beauty.
It is because I get lost in that kind of artwork. There's so many passionate, cultures that have made swords and that sort of wares, but the Japanese really took it to the next level.
When the Japanese came up with the idea of putting that guard in that position and actually not having it a stationary piece, you could pull it apart, and it was something meant to be taken care of and loved.
Yeah.
And the amount of chisel work that it takes to actually make a Tsuba something attractive instead of just a disc.
Right. I've seen some as simple, but then some as so ornate. I've seen some pretty neat things. I hope to get back to Japan this year and get a chance to go to the old areas and take a look and see, because I would always find on my, most of the stuff I would find would be like not even so much stateside. I would find it not even in Japan. I'd find it over in Italy. I'd find it on my trips in Paris. You'll would find have a lot of really across cool Europe. Pieces, across Europe, and somebody come over and say, "Hey, Tony, I know you like this stuff. What do you think?" And it's like, "Yeah, man, I love those. I'd love to get them." So I find a few pieces from here and there, but no, the artwork, it's not uncommon, for, the old sword families or however, samurai, whatever they would be, that would have multiple sets of koshirei for the sword that they would have, It's like anything nowadays, I explain to people, even the swords I have ones that I'm drawn to.
Yeah.
I just recently had an opportunity after SHOT Show to go look at some really, really fine pieces out of a private collection. There were some really cool pieces, but, it's like anything. If they don't speak to me, I get it. The intrinsic value of their history, who made them, everything else, picking up a blade, and it's like, well, this one's from the 1250 year, and it's like the day it was made. I could appreciate the work. I can appreciate the work and the maker and everything else. But
and when you can find something like that that hasn't been
really cool.
buried and isn't just a rusted remnant,
unfortunately, a lot of cool pieces ended up, end up not preserved. But to see the pieces that are like that, and I'm going to show you later on, after the podcast, I'm going to show you a couple of pieces I think you'll dig. And if anything, you'll dig, if you look at them carefully, you'll see the controlled grain structure, and what they were doing back then seemed to be pretty neat. So the metallurgy by itself was often really good, because it was a big competition for them, to build swords. So
those names live on.
Oh, hell yeah.
Those names that had it right.
Oh my God.
People know them today. The ones who didn't, you don't know.
No, they have a term in Japanese. I forgot what it was, but it's ones who melt metal. They had a term for that, like polishers and shit like that. And I was like, wow, that makes sense. I know guys like that. We won't mention Reese Weiland, but I'm only kidding, Reese. Don't be butthurt. But you got guys even today. You got guys that are just super exceptional makers. You got guys that are great. Just do some really, really neat stuff that I look and see. I mean, let me ask you. I mean, who's a mentor of yours? Who's somebody that you look up to in that world of forging? I mean, there's guys that do magical works, so stuff I can't even fathom. When I see it, I'm like, holy shit, I can't even do that.
When I think of mentors, I don't have one, but when I think of people that I aspire to be able to even
maybe that's a better term,
look to, or somebody to even be remembered as such.
Yeah,
you've got guys like Jason Knight, Steve Schwartzer, Jerry Fisk.
Yeah,
I saw a VHS video of Jerry Fisk with a Bowie knife, and I was enamored. I was absolutely in love with it. It was the most attractive knife I've seen, probably still today.
Yeah.
But Jason Knight can move a piece of steel and make it into something that you don't understand.
I have one of his pieces upstairs. You see the spear?
I looked at it above the fireplace, and I was so mad at you. It's gorgeous. It is.
I got that at the Blade Show when I met
know
you.
You did.
Yeah.
It was there, and then it wasn't. I know. I saw it. I was in love. I walked back by. It was gone. Trust me.
I was lucky because when I was watching Jason, of course, through the Instagram and social media, make this blade, and I'm like, oh my God, that is so freaking neat. Because it's normally outside of, the realm of things I collect. But man, that thing just spoke to me, and the whole story and him in general. So when I got an opportunity, it was the same way. When I see it on the table, I'm like, oh my God. Is this even available? And it's like, well, we're going to do an auction on it, and you can bid on it if you want to. And it's like, fuck, okay, why not? Fuck it. I love it. And it's like, and I already had it in my head. I was like, I'm taking that freaking thing home. And the neat thing about Jason is just, he was, I'd met him personally now for the first time. He knew who I was. I knew who he was. And, he was standing there, and it's like, I'm admiring his piece and talking to him as just back and forth, talking shit and having fun. I'll take a picture. He's like, oh my God, Yeah, we'll take a picture. And I was looking at his belt buckle, and I was like, dude, I fucking love that. Did you make that? He goes, no, this kid over here made it. Yeah. And I was like, that is the freaking coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I'm talking to the other kid, all of a sudden he's taking his belt buckle, and he hands me the fucking belt buckle, dude.
See, that's
I have it upstairs. Just puts it in my fucking hand, says, fucking enjoy it. And I'm like, really? I was like, it was the most heartwarming thing, you know. It just, I have it. I don't even want to wear it. I have it upstairs. I'll have to show it to you, but it's like the neatest copper work or the bronze work. But then even that, you know, I put the bids and I kept coming by like every half an hour. And I finally got to a point where I was like, well, I probably should put the pencil down at this point, you know. And then I remember my buddy, Joey, he ended up hitting me up that night. He's like, dude, you won the spear. I was like, fuck yeah, I won the spear, man. It was really cool, but it was probably the neatest, exciting piece, you know, to get, because I never fathomed it. I figured, well, that kind of work that Jason does, man, that's already spoken for, sold 50 times over, you know. And just,
you see things of his and you're like, that's what I want. That's what I love. And you see stuff like Steve Schwartzer. He is the wizard when it comes to canisters.
Of course he
is.
The
stuff he does is art.
The neat thing about it,
it's not just metallurgy, it's art.
It's art. Steve is a wealth of information. So, and everybody's trying to figure out how old is Steve Schwartzer? I'm figuring maybe 350. At least. Guys, I was talking to Jason and everybody else. How old is Steve? Well, we're figuring he's maybe, you know, he's definitely under 500, but probably in the threes. But he's done some amazing things. And, you know, when I lived in Vero Beach, you know, Steve wasn't too far up the road, you know, and it was neat to have some of these guys just right, not too far away. But I'd see Steve at the show, and he's always been great dude, you know, great dude to talk to, always been very encouraging, loves my gear, you know, and has always had good encouraging words, you know. So
that's the good thing dudes. Steve, anytime we're at a show, he pops by and he's like, hey, I've heard of you. People always talk about you. And I'm like, who the hell are you talking to? I'm a drunk guy in his garage.
Like, yeah, right?
I was like, did my wife tell you to say that? He was like, no, I know you. And I'm like, yeah, I know you do, but why?
That's so funny.
And
oh my
it's
God.
fascinating because 99% of the people that I look at, it's the old guys. It's the guys who are actually genuine, like they're paveways in our art.
Yeah.
Because knives aren't like just a tool. Finding the right design, finding the right geometry, everything. It's an art.
Absolutely.
Yes, you, like with some of y'all stuff, you need the right type of people for that. But it's an art that they know.
Yeah.
Even if it's a science, it is still an art.
Absolutely. 100%.
And those guys, they just understand. And I can talk to Steve about anything. I sent him just a little box of goodies. It was some fossilized bits, a funky old whale tooth that I think is absolutely gorgeous, but I was terrified to drill into because it was too pretty. It was too pretty. And me, I'm a bull in a china shop.
Yeah.
I'd have just drilled through it.
Hell yeah.
So I sent it to him, and I know it's going to become something. It's going to be art. And if you look at Jason's work, he can take an ugly hunk of crap,
it doesn't matter. Yeah,
a bar, a round, whatever, and in moments, it is art.
Yeah.
If you look at guys like David Lish, they can just make a line, something that you are in love with. Jerry Fisk. Yeah. If you look at, he did one a while back. It sold back in Texas in 2021. Mm-hmm. It was a deck of cards up the blade.
Oh, nice. Like,
who
fucking does that? I know, right? Who could do this? Yeah.
I'm over here like, I made it round.
I made it round. Got a twist in it. Got some lines.
I'm like, hey, cool. So
and this guy's got a deck of cards in his blade.
Yeah, I'm real proud.
Jesus criminy.
Because, like, there's 5 guys I know that are like, hey, I need 6 feet of steel. And I'm like, okay, I can make you some pretty Damascus. But they're like, hey, so I was thinking about some dominoes. Go away. Fuck you. I can make something attractive, but I have years before I'm there.
Yeah, I got
and I can accept that. I know that it's something I need to work on.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm going to show you the knife that I brought you.
Oh, nice.
I have years before I'm them.
Yeah, I got you.
But now that I brought it up, I have to.
Yeah, let's go.
So, I want you to have this. You talked about getting it from me. I want you to have it.
Thank you.
This is all World War II pocket change.
No shit.
With Damascus cladding and jacketing, or Damascus cladding and core.
Dude, man.
That is $2 in nickels and $1 in pennies.
Yeah, from a time and era. Oh my God. We're definitely going to have to get Nick to get some pictures of that. Yeah,
So she's got the perfect shelf on the back for if you want a pinch grip.
Yeah.
And she's set.
Yeah.
Because you'll feel a small flat spot just past the handle that is your shelf. And that's where you belong. And
right there, man.
she wants to work. But if you look at the blade, it is insanely hard to get a Hammond line when you are throwing copper in the mix.
Got you.
And after 20 plus attempts, she's got a gorgeous hamon that goes all the way up the...
You see. And it's sharp, boy. I appreciate that. Charlie, thank you.
Stop being nice. I want to know what you think.
It's everything I expected in the work. I looked at the pictures. I seen it. I fell in love with it. I offered to buy it.
I don't care.
I know, but I seen it. But it meets my expectations, and I cannot wait to use this in the kitchen, dude. Like I said, it feels good for me in the hand.
My biggest thing with a knife is it feels like it works.
Yeah,
and it
fits me
a lot like a woman's shoe. If it doesn't fit, you will not use it.
You will not use it. I don't care what kind of.
No, it doesn't matter if you love the way it looks. If it doesn't feel right, you will never pick it up.
Yeah.
And I do not like a knife that if you sit it on its back, it stays standing up.
No,
that is a
good way to get cut. Yes,
it's dangerous. So I always want it to where you will never be able to stand it up.
Yeah, that's a fact.
But
is this G10?
Do what?
What is this material? You have a little bit of wood, and is that G10?
You've got a heavy fibrous G10.
Okay.
That's G11.
G11, and then the wood in between is like a burl of some type.
Applewood.
Applewood. Dude, it's beautiful, man. No, I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. I mean, if I didn't like this, I would say, hey, this is a little bit different and whatever else. But, for a kitchen piece that I'm going to use, like I said, I have a few. I have a couple pieces, from Adam Desrosiers, and I love them to death. And this will make a fine addition. Not a lot of people know. All I care about
is that she works.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'm going to give it this for me is going to be. I'm going to say for me, this is going to be my parsley and garlic knife from here going forward.
She's got the right geometry for you to run on all your veggies. She's not a meat knife.
No,
she wants to work on your.
Yeah.
She wants to chop.
She wants to chop. So I say geometry wise, fit in the hand. If I just close my eyes, I could work this knife with not a problem.
So she's set for a right-handed user.
Yeah.
So if you look at the left-handed side, she's a little bit thinner. She's meant for a right-handed user.
Yeah. Yeah, this for me is good. This is going to fit good. Yeah, this fits good in the hand. It's a beautiful piece, brother. Thank you. Well, I got a little something for you, too.
All I care about
as beautiful as this, but it's going to get used. Yeah, when I cook in the kitchen with my good knives, nobody cleans them. Nobody uses them. I use them. That's it. I get them. I use them. I clean them a certain way. I oil them a certain way. I put them back a certain way.
My wife, over the years, has just learned that gets washed a certain way.
Yes.
That gets oiled and goes home.
Yep. Goes back in the case. So that's cool. So the copper is the coins that you use. That's fucking dope.
So your high finish points, you'll see are the nickels, and the copper is pennies.
From the 40s. Dude, that is so freaking bonkers.
It took a very long time to find enough. And you've got both pieces that exist.
Yeah. Yeah, we got the other bar.
Yeah.
We normalized that today.
Did you?
I'm going to get started right away. Yeah.
So you own the only two pieces of World War II pocket change.
Thank you. Dude. I hope it make you look good because I got a really special build for that bar.
I hope you do.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy it too.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Man, that's beautiful, man. Beautiful. I look forward to using that in the kitchen.
That's what I was talking about earlier, is a lot of people don't differentiate between what a kitchen knife is and what your vegetable knives and everything else are.
Yeah.
People need to understand that not all knives are created equal.
They're created equal for that.
Your edge geometry, everything, it's different.
It's different, yeah.
If I'm going to be separating something from a bone, I don't use that knife.
No.
If I'm going to be cutting through my red meats, it's a different knife.
Right.
It's meat knives and veggie knives. They don't go home together.
They don't go home together. Yeah, they're totally separate. Don't. Totally separate.
It's just a thing.
I mean, you make your own knives. You got your own gear, but if this could find your way onto a kit or something like that, maybe in your gear, that's from us to you. A little something,
I will tell you,
pack.
I do not carry one of my own knives. I carry one of my own axes. So this will get used.
Yeah, for a good utility piece in the field and everything else.
You've seen my axes.
Yeah.
That's what I carry.
Yeah.
But this will actually go to work.
Hell yeah. And that one's actually, a Carpenter 20 CV. So that one's out of my personal collection. So outside of anything else, I like to have a tendency to, that sheet's a little tight, but I like it. I like the retention. I like the retention because I don't want to.
I don't want the blade to be tight, but that handle retention is important.
Yeah, the handle retention is extremely important.
When people make it to where the blade's the tight part, all you do is mar your blade. It doesn't do any good.
Exactly.
I want the handle to be that snap.
So that one.
I appreciate the hell out of that.
Yeah, that one. Dude, man. I hope
that
serves
will
you
go
well.
to work.
Yeah. Hope that one serves you well. So yeah, so outside of cooking, do you hunt?
So I used to hunt avidly. I find that the further I get into my career, the less of my time is my own.
Got you.
So,
like you said, you spend time with your wife. You spend those
over the years. I've found where priorities actually lay.
Yeah.
And 80% of my life is at work.
Yeah.
10% is in the shop, and the other 10% I have to cut out because I have to be home. If I'm not present, I can't turn it off.
Yeah.
I'm not home.
Yeah, I got you.
And that's where my peace comes from.
Yeah, man. So, working in the shop today, what'd you think? What'd you think of Microtech? Or at least a part of it?
So, I'm going to hit you with all of it. It's fascinating to see a polar opposite of my world.
Yeah.
Because y'all can make an entire production line, have time for a custom line. Y'all can have all of this, and it all seems to fit. And I'm over here like, I wonder if I should do single steel and go with a mono blade, or if I should go and make some Damascus this week. Y'all make it fit, and it's fascinating. And
it's a pain in the ass, actually, but yeah, we make it work. It's
everything
what we do.
that I do is free grind.
Yeah.
You might have thought I was joking earlier. I don't measure anything. I don't know how long that knife is, but I don't measure anything. I don't. And people always give me shit. They're like, "Hey, how long is this?" And I'm like, "It's pretty."
It's pretty.
It's really
sweet.
fucking mean.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, it's fuck."
You see it, you visualize it on the bench. You know what you're making. You know its purpose. So yeah.
Honest to God, I don't even visualize it. I start with a handle.
Yeah.
I am a handle fiend. I've got cabinets of what I love.
Okay.
And I'm a huge antique materials, fossils. I have so many fossils, it's not even funny.
That stuff intrigues me. Yeah.
So
I seen a video, not to interrupt, that you were cutting some big chain pieces on your Instagram. What the hell is that, man?
So
is that like off of battleships or some shit like that?
I am not a fan of the Pacific Northwest. What I will say the Pacific Northwest has is shipyards.
Shipyards. Yeah.
And angsty employees that will sell you things out of the shipyards.
I got you.
They're like, "Hey, we have to get rid of this, and I'm not loading it up." And I'm like, "I will load it up all day."
Nice.
So I get their wrought iron, and wrought iron on its own, it's whatever. If you make it into something structural, it's gorgeous. If you acid etch it, if you throw it on a blade, it's art.
Gotcha.
And I love if you can almost abuse the wrought iron to the point where it looks like wood grain, because you don't just flatten it out. You'll get straight lines. You take it and you wrench on it and you twist it and then you smash it down. It becomes this gorgeous wood grain and it opens up for you.
Nice.
So what you saw me cutting up was 250 feet of ship chain. Each link was 15 pounds.
Holy shit.
And it was a nightmare, but it's all cut up. And because I don't just use it myself, I'm not going to live long enough to use all of it.
Right.
There's some awesome makers out there that'll be like, "Hey, I'm a little short." And I'm like, "I'm not. Have some, please." But I'll see other makers that I'm in love with their work. And even if they're not a knife maker, they're a blade supplier or something like that. Right. I'm like, I just want to be a part of you. I want to be a part of what you put out.
That's cool. Yeah.
Take a piece. Send me a little piece of what you've got left. I'll make me a knife that I'll cherish. And you put it to work. And I find it fascinating because there are a lot of gatekeepers in the knife community. There are a lot of people that are purists. And, hey, if you're using a machine, it's not this. If you're if you're
man, I get it,
surface
man.
grinding, if you're doing this, it's not this. To me,
get that.
It's like religion. Everything leads to where you're ending up.
Absolutely.
We're all on a different path to get there, and I do not care which way you go, because I've got friends that are stock removal only. I've got friends that are, hey, we're forging this, it's going to be brute to force.
Yeah.
That's cool. I just showed up to play the game.
Gotcha.
I just want to make something that I'm in love with. That's why I don't take custom orders.
I gotcha.
I took custom orders for the first 6 years, and I wasn't happy. I realized that I lived by what other people thought was attractive and I thought was hideous.
Hey.
And now I make what I love, and all of a sudden it's gone.
Well, that's the thing. You know, when you can articulate a piece of you and put a little bit of your DNA, that's your look. And that's what I'll say is that, like in the piece that you have here that you've gifted me here, that's your style. That's your Kung Fu style. And I could, now that I've gotten a grasp, and, it's like at first I was like, when I looked at your blades and stuff like that, I was like, man, it's okay, man. These are a little, rudimentary and stuff like that. Some of them super good and sharp, because that's the first thing for me. If it cuts well, I don't care what the frick it is. That's the essence. That's the life of the blade, is how well it cuts geometries and stuff like that. Even at the last show that I seen you at, I think it was we were in Utah.
Yeah.
And then Lynn Thompson comes over and he starts breaking your fucking
yeah. He's like, this wouldn't be good in a fight because of this. And
I'm sitting here and I'm watching you. I'm like, Charlie, just be cool, man. This is really cool. Lynn Thompson's over here tweaking and fucking your shit over here. And it's just like, that's such a great compliment, because I remember as a kid, Lynn Thompson is that's the guy from Cold Steel.
Yeah.
That's the curator.
You see the guy from Cold Steel. He's doing fight training. He's doing everything.
All that shit, man. It's just like really good. And he comes over and starts tweaking your shit, but he's looking at your stuff out of everything in the show.
He wants to know why I've got a spike on a certain spot on an axe. And I'm like, because I like it. And he's like, but in a fight.
Fight. Yeah, because Lynn Thompson, yeah.
But he is.
No, I know.
He just is.
No, come on,
so
man.
I remember be mad at it, because it's him critiquing something that I've got because of his understanding and his knowledge and where it goes.
But
and
that's
what it
why
can
I
use
even
for.
leaned over and I'm like, dude, man, this is such a great compliment for you to have Lynn Thompson over here tweaking your shit.
And I wasn't even mad.
Because normally he'll
just
walk by, he'll look at something, he'll just turn his nose up and he'll walk away. But, people could say what they want about Lynn, but he's one of the fucking pioneers, dude.
If you look at the people who actually led the way through a lot of it,
Lynn Thompson, man.
And you can't say anything negative towards it.
What are you going to say?
Can't. What the hell do you have to say? Oh, he didn't like this?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, he didn't like it. He told you what was wrong. He told you where to grow.
It was so great.
Because of him, I've changed it.
There you go.
I took what I had in a certain style that was obviously ineffective. I thought it was attractive, but if it's ineffective, why not adjust it? You've gotten feedback from somebody who knows.
Yeah.
When somebody knows, don't be ignorant. Don't be willfully ignorant.
No, not at all, man. That was great, man. It's just like back in the day, getting those kind of compliments or getting that kind of, good criticism or critique, man, I never took an offense to it. Shit.
Look at how many people do, though.
Yeah.
And that's so frustrating.
They get a little bit hurt no matter what you say.
But I can't be upset when somebody who knows what they're talking about has something to say.
Yeah.
Because let's look at it. 12 years. How long have you been doing this?
Over 30 years.
So 12 years versus 30. I don't have a damn thing to throw at you.
I know.
Other than this might not be comfortable for me. Do I actually matter when you have people who go through and they almost on a completely unrealistic spectrum can tell you exactly where this fits and everything else? No. But when somebody like him pops up to my table and they're like, hey, I've got this feedback, or when you because you picked up a basket weave chef of mine and you're like, this is gorgeous, but you've got a small arc in your blade. Yeah. That matters.
Yeah.
When you've got somebody like Jason Knight who's like, hey, this is gorgeous knife, but your handle's uncomfortable.
Your handle's uncomfortable in the hand. Yeah.
If it's not comfortable, why would I pick it up? I wouldn't.
Got you.
So you have to take that. You have to glean what you can, and that's what keeps people hungry. If you're passionate and you're hungry, you have nowhere to go except up.
100%.
Otherwise, you're hitting the wall.
Exactly what you said is exactly how we built our company over the years.
Hell, how long? I saw a post not even a week ago where somebody was showing a father and son knife that was 20 and 21 years old. I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
If it's tried and true and it's battle tested and it's still effective,
it works.
Sure, it's had a spring repaired.
Yeah.
It's still getting carried.
It's still getting
They
carried.
didn't replace it.
I seen that one. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. That was really solid.
Because that's
BCM
real.
Tactical. Yeah.
Because I have a woman that every year posts my knife getting used on her turkey.
Yeah.
And that is a feeling. It's a whole feeling all on its own, because it's not just good for you. It's not, hey, she still shows it. It's, I got one right. And if I can get one right, I can turn 1 into 5.
Absolutely.
I can turn 5 into a future.
Absolutely, 100%. Is that where you see yourself? I mean, after you retire from the military, I think you should be doing knives full time, man.
I am going to be completely honest. I will do knives full time, but I'm never going to speed up.
I got you.
I find peace in my knives.
Yeah.
And I will still put out 20 to 25 a month and be peaceful.
Well, I don't offer a lot, to a lot of I try to give back into the industry, and I try to give back into makers. That's why when I told you before, I wasn't lip service to you. I wanted you to come and work with us a little bit.
And I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Show you what I do, show you how we do some things, because anything that you could use that could amortize your time, your style is going to be your style.
What did I take away when we left and went to lunch, though?
You could work a lot more efficiently, man.
I'm inefficient.
Yeah.
While I'm intimate with everything I make.
Sure.
I'm inefficient because I'm putting all the money into what I enjoy, not what I need.
Yeah.
Because while time with a hammer, that's my love language.
Sure.
If we're being completely honest, I need to swing the hammer.
Yeah.
But why am I spending 2 days grinding?
You don't need to be, bro.
I realized that today.
Yeah. Did you realize that today?
Don't talk
that's
to me.
good.
I'm a little mad.
Mission accomplished. I like that.
It's true, though.
Yeah.
I know where I'm inefficient now because I spend a lot of time with blacksmiths. I have never been in a production setting. And what that showed me is efficiency is key.
Yeah.
And so while I just spent 18 grand a month ago on a new piece of equipment,
well,
I'm going to go put May's money into that because it needs
I think
to.
you should. Yeah. I mean,
Because now I've seen the dividends of what I did in an hour that can get cut down as I get more comfortable.
yeah.
And I appreciate the hell out of
know
that
what,
because
bro?
I had never seen it. I wouldn't have.
So it's like when Jason Knight was here, he hit on a nerve, and it's something that it's going to stick in my mind probably for the rest of my days. When he looked at the shop and he looked at, my collection, this and that, and he's like, some people could critique, but he's like, this is hard work residue. Hard work residue. I fucking love that, dude. Hard work residue. So the hard work residue is get that money, reinvest, reanimate your time on the line, everything else, because that's another thing I try to say, it's just like you say, you get that limited amount of time with somebody special in your life that you love, when we breathe those last breaths, that's what we'll remember.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of work, but we're not going to go on our grave going, Jesus, I wish I banged out more blades, or I was on the wheel a little bit more. That's the time you spend with family, the time here, this time there, the time at a show, that intimate time. So yeah, when we show, when I work with a maker and I show, hey, this is how I learned, it's not tweaking your style. I can give you some pointers, but I could show you how to amortize your time. So when I offered you that at Blade Show, I meant it. It wasn't just, well, hey, Charlie, how you doing? Yeah, man, come out and fucking visit. I'll show you a few things. I meant that. And here you are today.
And while what I have to offer you isn't as tangible, I meant what I said today. I want you to swing a hammer.
I want to give it a try.
Of peace.
But
you'll
what?
Be mad for the first day. Day 2, you'll be hungry.
Yeah, I want to try it. Even Sebastian, when he had an opportunity to hear a little bit, more about, Jason Knight's story and stuff like that, because, he works with me and we work together on a lot of things, and he's learned a certain way, but he wants to also, get into that side. We just want to try it.
And it doesn't have to be one of those things.
I know, but everybody that does it, they're like, man, this is it's like a fucking therapy or something. I need that therapy. And like I said, when I had an opportunity to speak with you on a more intimate level, that's what you've given back to me. You've given me some direction and some sensibility in my life that really changed the course of my paths right now. So think about that. Even, you say that, what do you bring to the table? Even a fucking simple phone call from you, changed me from going off in a really out of a bad spiral. So we won't go into detail.
No, and we've hit that over the head too many times.
I know, but I'm just saying, as a friend, and even somebody, you're like, hey man, I don't fucking know you from Adam, but Tony, let me talk to you for a second. I needed that. If there was any moment in my time that I really needed to get an outside voice that I would listen to, because a lot of people are like, hey, look, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to snap out of this fucking trance you're in. I came from a guy that you didn't need to call me, you didn't need to fucking talk to me, but you were right there at the right moment, at the right time, in a really difficult time in my life.
But that's the thing is like,
so thank you.
The knife community.
Yeah. Thank you.
As dimensional as we are, every once in a while you see somebody that either they need a hand up or they need a hand out.
Yeah.
And you needed a hand out of a hole. Yeah. You did. And you could see it because whether it was social media posts or just emotional things, I knew it was real.
Pick up on my read, man. Yeah.
I knew it was real.
Yeah.
And that's why I gave a fuck.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you for that.
Because I'm not nice, but I don't have to be.
I like bluntness.
I hear it entirely too often that I'm either scary or I'm mean. Right now, I have my trailer stash, so it's not scary. I'm just mean.
I got you, man.
But I give a shit.
I appreciate that.
And I appreciate, while I will never in my life want to run a factory, and I will never in my life want to have the production you have, the love you have for it.
Oh, God.
I mean, fuck, you're wearing Microtech, or Marfione. I'm looking at Marfione everywhere I look. It's a love. It's a passion.
It is. And it's, it's what I've done. And we have our trials, we have our ups and downs in the factory and everything else, but it's what we do.
I spoke to one of your people earlier and they're like, oh, these aren't things that are gone. They're not here to die. He's going to fall in love with it again. It's going to come back. We're going to bring it back. So I know you love it. Otherwise, there wouldn't be remnants of something that isn't around right now.
Right.
Because it's going to come back, because it's going to be reignited. It's going to come back.
We got a good crew. We got quite the undertaking to do for the year, because we have the expansions. Anytime you grow, it hurts.
It's insanity.
I think about it because I'm looking at it today. I love it, and I go to 221, and I'm like, God, this is freaking great. But Jesus, we could have just stayed where we were at, and just things would have been great, and we would not had all these pains.
I'm getting explanations from people left and right, like, hey, this just got moved. Hey, this is moving. This, that, and the other.
It's painful.
And the fact that y'all are running.
Yeah.
Good God. Because I'd have sat in the corner and be like, let me know when it's done.
So it's good. So the efficiencies are gaining, our people are getting the stuff done. We got you've seen a lot of cool things today.
Oh, a ton.
And tomorrow we're going to finish those blades because, I'm excited about that.
We're
going to put that bitch together. It's going to be nice. But it's fun to work on the line. Like I told you before, anything that I could show you that you could use, you take what you need, you leave the rest, man. I
had 4 people today tell me that it's hard to get you away from the line.
Yeah, it is at times. That's where I like to be.
But for you to still love it, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because how many years? 30?
Over 30.
And you still love it?
The company next year will be 30 years as a corporation.
But see, that's a thing.
My knife journey, or my knife making journey started, 2 years before that even yet.
So when I started with junk and trash. And I had people that were just nice.
Yeah.
And then I look at some of the knives that first started out Microtech. I'm like, hey, that's not actually trash. It's a little bit better than my prison shivs. And it tells me, hey, I've got room to grow.
100%.
There's always that one thing I can better. That one thing I can grow. Because even if you look at that knife you just gave me, good God.
It's a cool piece.
I've got a few more steps, like 600.
Cheers to that. Oh my God. I got one sip, dude. I can cheers on that. Yeah. And by the way, everyone, we are looking at, I believe it's I'm going to screw this name up, but how do you pronounce that, bro? I'm half in the bag.
Glenmorangie?
Yeah. Glenmorangie Signet. And it is, it's a single malt Scotch whiskey. I believe I received this from a gift from my bro Sebastian at one time or another, but we're enjoying it tonight. What do you think? Tell me about it.
Honest to God,
It's nice.
It surpassed all expectations when you look at the bottle.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, that's a little dark. No, it's all spices. Like, that last note just hits you strong.
It's nice.
She's beautiful.
I think we should try it with a cigar here in a little bit.
You sold me a cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. Brought to you by my Phantom sponsor, Topo Chico, for the mineral water, carbonated. Just kidding, guys. Anyway, but Charlie, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. I hope we get a chance to spend a little bit more time in the shop. I definitely am coming out to learn from you.
I would love it.
I want to become with an Anvil, because it's just like, I remember as a kid, I had dreamt of it, man. It was just like, I never knew I'd be doing it to this extent, from the Microtech level, but it was just like, I was always infatuated. My early expectations, I remember, everybody remembers the Conan movie.
Yeah.
The original Conan movie.
And you were in love with that sword.
He's just like, wow. It's like, wow. It's just like, holy shit, they just forged the sword. And it's just like,
you're watching him do it on what I'm pretty sure was stone, but you watched him forge it, and
I know, right?
And you're like, oh wow, I'm in love with that. He poured a blade.
It was
you can't
cool.
do that, but it makes you fall in love.
And that's the thing, and as I got, because I was a big fan of knives at a very, very super, super young age. Even before I made knives, guns. I remember the old magazines, the old Firepower magazines with the old Cold Steel ads with the knife going through, aiming towards the hand of the deck of cards and all this cool shit. And it was just like, it was amazing. I remember meeting Elmar, at the first time at the SOF convention in Orlando as a kid, and meeting Rhiannon and everything else. And we were just kids.
See, we were drastically different.
And it's just like, I remember, and I couldn't rub two nickels together to buy any of these kind of knives, whether it be a switchblade or anything else. And it was just like, wow, man, it's just like, but I outside of the knives and the guns, I had more of an interest in like machine tools. So machining stuff, it's just like cutting metal. It's just like, I could fucking cut metal. I could do anything.
See.
And that was my mindset as a kid. It's just like, yeah, I do construction work. I bust tables. I fry chicken. I do the best. But when I got into cutting metal, that was a game changer for me. It was just like, if I can cut metal, it was just a neat feeling at the point. It's just like, wow, on a lathe. Because one of my kung fu strengths is lathe work. I can make anything on a lathe. But, I'll explain a little bit more of the story. We can't go into it tonight. But, that feeling of being able to create something. And that's how I got into the knife making, which I'll explain a little bit better. But
when I was younger, see, you talk about when I was younger and doing this and that. For me, it was, I wanted to be a dinosaur. And then I remember I wasn't allowed to have any of my pocket knives I was given. They stayed on top of the fridge in a shoebox.
There you go.
I wasn't allowed to have them because I cut furniture.
Well, the funny thing is that, my mom being a single mom at the time, she knew that I had this fetish for the knives and the guns and stuff like that. What really got me on the switchblades is she went to Italy. I think it was maybe 13 years old. I think it was the last few years I had before I left home. And my mom went to Italy. She went to Naples. She was gone for like maybe 2-3 weeks. And when she got home, she brought me 2 knives back. She brought me a little, I can't remember the length, but it was tiny. And it was a little Italian switchblade, a little Italian switchblade. And she brought me, it was a red handle, said NATO OTF. And she's like, son, you don't have no idea what I had to do to get these back, but I'm gifting these to you today because I know you love the knives.
See, that's special.
That marked my memories so hard, but it was just, I'll never forget that fucking NATO OTF cheap. It was the most brilliant thing. And when I got this, it was just like, I thought I won the lottery today. And that little freaking, she's like, I bought these at the market, when I was in Naples, going to see your dad, blah, blah, blah. And I brought these back, and how she wrapped them up, she's really cool, because I didn't know at the time. She goes, I cut, and then later at a date, because I asked my mom before she passed, I was like, how the fuck you get those through the things? She goes, well, I hid them in my bag and I checked them, but I put them inside a tampon. And I was like, that's clever. I know that's a lot of TMI, but she smuggled those back, and she's like, I brought these back for you. And I'll never forget, because my mom was always the same thing. Don't ever have knives. I love pocket knives, always had them. And she's like, but she brought those back. But those really struck me. Those switchblades struck me. I wish I still own those. But that OTF is just like, I had that as a kid, 13 years old. You think about it. That was like 1983. And it was just like, I had that red-handled NATO OTF, and I was like, that is the coolest thing in the world.
I wish
Who would
I
have
had
known
memories.
that today? Yeah.
Because I remember when I got my first Swiss Army knife, it had Charles Bridges on it.
Yeah.
My sister opened it Christmas morning and cut her hand, so my parents took it away until I was 17. So I don't know what I even did to earn that, but your knife memories are way better.
No, that was really cool. I mean, I cut myself just the one time. I have this scar across my hand, and it was, remember the ceramic sharpeners with the V?
Yes.
So I'd be sharpening them knives, and I sliced myself right across my knuckle, right
Because
to the
it's
bone.
built poorly.
It's built poorly, and I remember because my mom, she was one of those moms that was great, but if something like that happened and she seen blood, she would panic. Yeah, no, really.
No,
My
I
mom,
know.
little tiny lady, she was probably 4'2", and I remember, I'm sure, I was like, when I cut myself, I looked at it, and I'm like, God, I can see my bone inside my hand. It's just like, I'm gonna have to go show mom, and just like. It's like, Mom, and I showed her, she starts screaming, running around the house. I'm like, I think I need to get stitches. She took me to the emergency room. Sure enough, I got 5 stitches. The only time I ever had stitches in my life. So I knew from that moment forward, I respect the knives. God forbid, knock on wood. I've never been cut. I mean, I've been cut, but not enough. I think most of the time, I think Ray knows, we just glue ourselves back together now.
You're entirely way too mature for me to be around because I cut myself all the time.
All the time, and
Not
we do
good
it, and
ones
it's just
either,
like,
like
hey,
big
you know what?
people's.
And then the guys are like, hey, I cut myself worse than that shaving, or we glue ourselves back together.
Well, I'll super glue it back together, but you'll watch the super glue like fill up like a balloon, and you're like, it might be okay. It might
Exactly. I think the worst thing I did is, I don't know, I was grinding some meteorite and I slipped on a wheel and I busted my
not. The
knuckle on a wheel.
grinder is bad. The grinder is not your friend.
No, those will grind your fingers right off.
Oh, clean.
So anyway, I want to get Ray back on here because I want to talk about this thing. We all want to know what this is. And we won't mention names.
I got a full
My
explanation.
bro, Chris, almost fucking blew me up with his GE minigun.
I got a full
Fucker.
talk through.
But anyway, hey, a lot of times, we'll talk about a certain firearm. I know you got a ton of experience, especially with the big guns, which totally turned me on because I love all that shit, and I wish I had a howitzer or something cool like that. But today we are introducing an HK 416D, which not a lot of these floating around in private collections, but this one is clear, but I'm going to check it out today. So HK 416D, Charlie?
She's a bombshell.
Yeah, man. Got the Trijicon. I like Lancer mags. Aaron, I love Lancer mags. So get it worked out. And Surefire suppressors. I like Trijicon. Or, that one has a Trijicon ACOG, a very, very awkwardly weird one. And then, of course, the pack on the top. But it's a good gun. A couple of the guys that we know have used these, and they've used them to a great deal of success. And I guess they're still fielded somehow, some way. So, cool piece. We like it. Select fire. Thank you. Well, we won't take any more of anybody's time, but thank you, Charlie. And like I said, I look forward to working with you on the Anvil. Please, I hope I
love it.
Do that. And then a little bit of range work and some other things. I think it's going to be fun. But thank you for being a friend, and thank you for being here. Thank you for being a patriot, and we appreciate your service. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight with our podcast. Join us for the next one here very soon. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Charlie?
Thank you.
Appreciate you.